Who cares for such baubles? Exclaimed Tan Chun. How could they come up to what you purchased the last time? That wee basket made of willow twigs, that scent box scooped out of a root of real bamboo, that portable stove fashioned of glutinous clay. These things were, oh, so very nice. I was as fond of them as I don't know what. But who would have thought it? They fell in love with them and bundled them all off, just as if they were precious things. Is it things of this kind that you really want? Laughed Pao Yu. Why, these are worth nothing. Were you to take 100 cash and give them to the servant boys, they could, I'm sure, bring 2 cartloads of them. What do the servant boys know? Tan Chun replied. Those you chose for me were plain, yet not commonplace. Neither were they of coarse make. So, were you to procure me as many as you can get of them, I'll work you a pair of slippers like those I gave you last time, and spend twice as much trouble over them as I did over that pair. Now, what do you say to this bargain? Your reference to this, smiled Pao Yu, reminds me of an old incident. One day I had them on, and by a strange coincidence I met Father, whose fancy they did not take, and he inquired who had worked them. But how could I muster up the courage to allude to the 3 words, my sister Tertia? So I answered that my maternal aunt had given them to me on the recent occasion of my birthday. When Father heard that they had been given to me by my aunt, he could not very well say anything, but after a while, he observed, why uselessly waste human labor and throw away silks to make things of this sort? On my return, I told Sijin about it. Never mind, said Sijin, but Mrs. Zhao got angry. Her own brother wears slipshod shoes and socks in holes, and there's no one to look after him. And does she go and work all these things? Tan Chun, hearing this, immediately lowered her face. Now tell me, aren't these words utter rot? She shouted. What am I? That I have to make shoes? And is it likely that Huanhar hasn't his own share of things? Clothes are clothes, and shoes and socks are shoes and socks. And how is it that any grudges arise in the room of a mere servant girl, an old matron? For whose benefit does she come out with all these things? I simply work a pair or part of a pair when I'm at leisure, with time on my hands, and I can give them to any brother, elder or younger, I fancy. And who has a right to interfere with me? This is just another bit of blind anger. After listening to her, Pao Yu nodded his head and smiled. Yet, he said, you don't know what her motives might be. It's but natural that she should also cherish some expectations. This apology incensed Tan Chun more than ever, and twisting her head round, she cried, now, you have also grown dull. She does, of course, indulge in expectations, but they are actuated by some underhand and paltry notion. She may go on giving way to these ideas, but I, for my part, will only care for Mr. Jia Sheng and Madame Wang. I won't care a rap for anyone else. In fact, I'll be nice with such of my sisters and brothers as are nice to me, and won't even draw any distinction between those born of primary wives and those born of secondary ones. Properly speaking, I shouldn't say these things about her, but she's narrow-minded to a degree, and unlike what she should be. There's besides another ridiculous thing. This took place the last time I gave you the money to get me those trifles. Well, 2 days after that, she saw me and she began again to represent that she had no money and that she was hard up. Nevertheless, I did not worry my brain with her goings-on. But as it happened, the servant girl subsequently quitted the room and she at once started finding fault with me. Why do I give you my savings to spend and don't after all let Huanhar have them and enjoy them? When I heard these reproaches, I felt both inclined to laugh and also disposed to lose my temper. But I there and then skedaddled out of her quarters and went over to our Madame Wang. As she was recounting this incident, well, she overheard Bao Chai sarcastically observe from the opposite direction. Have you done spinning your yarns? If you have, come along. It's quite evident that you are brother and sister, for here you leave everyone else and go and discuss your own private matters. Couldn't we too listen to a single sentence of what you have to say? While she taunted them, Tan Chun and Pao Yu eventually drew near her with smiling faces. Pao Yu, however, failed to see Ling Daiyu, and he concluded that she had dodged out of the way and gone elsewhere. It would be better, he muttered after some thought, that I should let 2 days elapse and give her temper time to evaporate before I go and see her. But as he drooped his head, his eye was attracted by a heap of touch-me-nots, pomegranate flower, and various kinds of fallen flowers which covered the ground thick as tapestry, and he heaved a sigh. It's because she's angry that she did not remove these flowers, he pondered, but I'll take them over to the place and by ask her about them. As he argued to himself, he heard Bao Chai bid them go out. I'll join you in a moment, Pao Yu replied, and waiting till they two cousins had gone some distance, he bundled the flowers into his coat and ascending the hill, he crossed the stream, penetrated into the arbor, passed through the avenues with flowers, and wended his way straight for the spot where he had, on a previous occasion, interred the peach blossoms with the assistance of Lin Daiyu. But scarcely had he reached the mound containing the flowers, and before he had yet rounded the brow of the hill, than he caught, emanating from the offside, the sound of someone sobbing, who while giving way to invective wept in a most heart-rending way. I wonder, soliloquized Pao Yu, whose servant girl this is, who has been so aggrieved as to run over here to have a good cry.